Hello, my name is Cheryl. I'm a 33-year-old writer and my first mystery novel was a huge success. I've been married to my husband Thomas for 8 years, and we have a 7-year-old son named Gary. At first, Thomas had a job, but he quit a few years ago when my writing career took off. This allowed him to stay at home, although he sometimes went out to play slot machines. Lately, I've been dealing with a troubling situation. Thomas has been having an affair and buying expensive gifts for his mistress using my credit card. I've put up with this for our son's sake, but now it's too much for me to handle. One morning, Thomas put on a suit, which was strange since he was unemployed. When I asked him about it, he seemed surprised, but then said he was going for a job interview and might start contributing financially again. I wished him luck, hoping this was a positive change. However, my trust wavered when he returned home at 2 a.m., leaving me awake and filled with doubts. While working late to meet a deadline, my heart sank when Thomas came home well past midnight, reeking of alcohol and perfume. He collapsed on the living room sofa, his phone in his hand, unlocked. Driven by suspicion and disbelief, I looked at his phone. The texts I saw confirmed my fears. Thomas was having an affair. The pain was even worse when I realized his lover was my close friend, Gloria. The messages showed they had dined at a fancy restaurant known for its romantic views, a place he had never taken me. The shock hit me hard, and tears filled my eyes as I dealt with the betrayal of two people I trusted deeply. Gloria, who was married herself, had always been a confidant. In quiet turmoil, I quickly forwarded the evidence to my phone, needing time to think and plan my next steps carefully. The next morning, Thomas acted like nothing had happened. I approached him casually and said, "Hey, Thomas, about yesterday. You said you had an interview but came home quite late. What happened?" He avoided eye contact, clearly searching for an excuse. "Actually, I ran into a friend after the interview, and we ended up going for a drink," he muttered. "A friend? Someone I don't know?" I probed, even though I already knew the answer. "I don't have to explain everything, do I?" he snapped back. "Yeah, you're right," I replied, feeling frustrated and resigned. His evasion confirmed my worst fears about his ongoing deceit with Gloria. A month after discovering the painful truth about Thomas' affair, I was still struggling with what to do. Confronting him could mean the end of our marriage. In different circumstances, I might have shown him the evidence and filed for divorce already. But our son Gary, only 7 years old, was my main concern. I couldn't bear the thought of taking his father away from him at such a young age. Meanwhile, Thomas seemed to take advantage of my busy schedule. He started leaving the house more often while I was consumed with writing in my room. This hurt, but it also gave me a chance to gather more evidence of his infidelity. During one of his outings, I went through his belongings and found receipts for luxury women's items, none of which were in our home or given to me. It was clear he was buying these for Gloria, but the source of the funds was confusing since he had no job and was living off my earnings. I didn't have much extra money left for extravagant expenses, but I needed to find out more about what was going on. I decided to follow Thomas, but first, I needed someone to look after Gary. I called my brother, who didn't know anything about the situation. "I'm sorry for calling you over so suddenly," I apologized when he arrived. "No, I don't mind, but what's up? You suddenly said you want me to look after Gary," he said, looking confused. "There's something I really need to go shopping for on my own," I explained, making up a story. "Shopping? You've never been materialistic. You usually shop online," he said, sounding skeptical. "I know," I replied, feeling a little guilty for lying. But I knew it was necessary to protect my family and uncover the full extent of Thomas's betrayal. In the chilly early morning, with my heart heavy with doubt, I asked my brother for a favor. "I need to pick something up from a store today, something I can't order online. Can you watch Gary for a bit?" I tried to keep my voice light, hiding the real reason I needed to leave the house. "Of course, but try to come back soon, okay? Gary might start missing you," my brother responded, concern clear in his voice. "Thanks so much," I said, truly grateful despite the turmoil inside me. With my brother's help, I was free to find out the truth about Thomas' activities. Blending into the crowd, I followed Thomas from a safe distance. With each step he took toward his destination, my heart sank further. My worst fears were confirmed when I saw him happily walking into an upscale boutique with Gloria, arm in arm. Seeing them so close was a harsh blow. As they laughed and looked at items, Thomas walked to the cashier. I watched, hidden behind a display, as he confidently handed over a credit card. It was the card from the back of my drawer, meant only for emergencies. This card, which I rarely used, had been his secret tool for making all these extravagant purchases. The realization hit me. I had been so focused on my writing and deadlines that I hadn't been watching our finances closely. Significant charges had built up on the card from my recent work-related expenses, and all this time, Thomas had been adding his deceitful transactions to the bill. Both of our cards were linked to the same account, and I had missed the signs of his betrayal hidden among my expenses. Stunned by the depth of his deceit, I realized Thomas had not only betrayed my trust romantically but had also abused my financial resources. The last bit of affection I had for him disappeared. I blamed myself for not noticing sooner and for allowing his deceit to go unchecked. Realizing this double betrayal was hard to accept and marked a turning point in how I saw our marriage. Despite all the evidence, I couldn't forgive Thomas. With a heavy heart, I took discreet photos of his moments with Gloria before heading home. In the days that followed, I focused on devising a plan to confront him. Whenever he was out, I searched his PC for more clues. Since his phone and computer were linked, I could easily access their communications. It wasn't long before I uncovered plans for a getaway with Gloria over the upcoming holiday, a 6-day trip. This is my chance, I muttered to myself, feeling a mix of determination and despair. I planned to confront Thomas and settle matters while he was away with his lover. However, I faced a big challenge, our son Gary. I needed to make sure he was protected from the painful truth about his father's affair, and carrying out my plan without him finding out would be tricky. Reluctantly, I decided to ask my brother for help again. I hate to ask, but can you look after Gary during the upcoming holidays? I asked, trying to sound casual. The holidays? You mean all 6 days? He asked, sounding suspicious. Yes, I have something important to handle, I replied, trying to hide my anxiety. Something important, huh? He gave me a look that suggested he knew more than I had told him. His next words caught me off guard. Cheryl, you don't have to handle everything by yourself. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Thomas is cheating, isn't he? He said bluntly. My heart skipped a beat. How did you? I stammered, but he cut me off. I heard it from Gary, he said softly. Gary, my son, knew. Even though he was just a child, he had picked up on enough to realize something was wrong. He had seen his father getting close to someone who wasn't me, and it had upset him. My brother's revelation was a stark reminder of how sensitive and observant children can be. Even at a young age, Gary had sensed the tension and sadness in our home, making the emotional situation even more complicated. I had thought I was shielding Gary from the turmoil at home. Why? My brother pressed gently, his words cutting through my defenses. Thomas's actions have hurt you enough for even Gary to notice. Are you considering staying with him? As I wrestled with the idea of divorce, fearing it would deeply affect Gary, my son unexpectedly walked into the room. It's okay, Mom. I'm on your side, he said, his young voice resolute. I don't want anyone who makes you sad, Mom. As long as I have you, I'm fine. His words, so mature for his age, brought tears to my eyes. Thank you, Gary, I managed, my voice thick with emotion. Turning to my brother, I added, and thank you too. With the support of my son and brother, I found the courage to face what needed to be done. Gary and I began to plan our move, timing it for when Thomas would be away on his trip with Gloria. My brother helped us pack discreetly, making sure everything was ready for a swift departure. The evening before Thomas was set to leave, I decided it was time to confront him directly. I found him packing a suitcase in our bedroom. Thomas, why are you packing a suitcase? What's going on? I asked, pretending not to know. Oh, this? I'm going on a trip with some friends starting tomorrow, he replied, avoiding my gaze. A trip? Why didn't you mention this earlier? I pushed, trying to get more details. It was a last-minute plan, nothing serious. I'm using my monthly allowance for it, he said dismissively, trying to end the conversation. Despite his discomfort, he continued to hide the truth. I took a deep breath, and in a calm, determined voice that I rarely used, I asked, Are you sure it's just with your friends? Thomas visibly tensed, his shoulders twitching with nerves. Despite his obvious unease, he stubbornly clung to his lie. Yes, just friends, he insisted, though his voice wavered. All right, I understand. Enjoy your trip with your friends, I said, the irony not lost in my tone. I would have enjoyed it anyway, he muttered, but his assurance sounded forced. With everything laid bare, I knew what needed to be done. My brother, my son, and my resolve had set the stage for a new beginning, free from deceit. Even though Thomas hadn't brought it up, it was essential to be accountable. As I stepped out of my husband's room, wrestling with my thoughts, I reflected on how things might have been different. If he had been truthful from the start, perhaps we could have parted amicably, discussing alimony and child support. Despite his betrayal, there was a time when my love for him was deep. He had been my rock when my novel initially failed to make an impact. I didn't want to feel bitter towards Thomas, but I had to protect myself and my son. It was clear that it was time for me to make a decisive move and not hold back any longer, especially after discovering more of his lies. The next morning, after Thomas left for his trip, I checked the drawer and saw that he had taken my credit card again. I acted quickly, calling the credit card company to report it as lost and had it canceled. When my son woke up, his eyes sparkled with excitement. He asked, Mom, today's the day, right? The day we moved to our new house. Any lingering doubts I had vanished in that moment. Yes, Gary, I smiled, reassured by his enthusiasm. I've canceled the credit card, and now it's time for us to start fresh in our new home. With my brother's help, the move was easy. We took our belongings to our new house while my husband's things were sent elsewhere. The next day, as we settled into our new place with my son and brother, I felt a profound sense of peace and excitement for the future. When Thomas called, his voice sounded hesitant. "Hello, Cheryl. Well, this trip is turning out to be more expensive than I thought. Could you send me some money?" I immediately knew he was having money troubles because I had frozen the credit card. He was trying to avoid admitting the truth about using the card without permission, and his indirect request for money was annoying. "Did you plan for this trip on your own?" I asked calmly. "I'm sorry, but I can't give you any money." He sounded frustrated. "Don't be like that. If you don't help me, I'll be the only one not enjoying this trip," he said. Then he corrected himself. "I mean, you'll be the only one." Even over the phone, his confusion was obvious. "You're on a trip, and you want to show off the good parts, right? Well, the card you took is no longer valid, so you'll have to manage." "What are you talking about, Cheryl? What card?" He pretended not to know. "Pretending you don't know won't help," I said firmly. "You're panicking because you're saying things that don't make sense. I don't know anything about a card." "Enough," I exclaimed, my patience wearing thin. "I already know you've been cheating on me with my best friend, Gloria. Did you think I had no idea? It's obvious." "No, it's not what you think. I'm not cheating," he tried to assure me, his voice desperate. I was furious that he continued to deny everything. Standing there with my brother and son next to me, all my pent-up anger erupted. "Stop making excuses. You had a family and you cheated with another woman, and you've been using someone else's credit card. Do you even realize how despicable your actions are?" "Cheryl, let's calm down for a moment," he tried to soothe, but it was too late. The truth was out, and there was no turning back. How can I remain calm when I'm dealing with the person I despise the most? I seethed into the phone. "Just so you're aware, I have no intention of forgiving you or offering you any help. As for her, she can find her way elsewhere. Never show your face to Gary and me again." With those final words, I hung up on my husband. Moments later, his mistress, Gloria, called. "Hey, Cheryl, what on earth did you do?" "Ah, Gloria, long time no see. How's your trip going with my husband?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Shut up and explain yourself. What are you talking about?" she snapped back. "Don't play dumb. You received Thomas's things at your house, didn't you?" I replied. When we moved out, I had arranged for all my husband's belongings to be sent directly to Gloria's address. Since Gloria was also married, her husband was naturally there to receive the delivery. That's why I sent everything there, along with a detailed letter explaining the whole situation. She yelled back, her voice cracking under stress. "This isn't a joke. What have you done?" My husband found out, and now he's furious. "Well, you brought this upon yourself by choosing to have an affair while married. You were supposed to be my friend, and this is a betrayal," I retorted. "You're the worst. I misjudged you," she accused. "Excuse me? That's rich coming from you. My best friend having an affair with my husband. How could you expect any forgiveness?" "I didn't mean it seriously. It was just a joke. I would never actually be interested in someone like him," she tried to downplay it. "I don't care if it was a joke or not. I'm filing for divorce anyway, and yes, you did have an affair. That's a fact. I'll never forgive you, and I'll be seeking significant compensation, so be prepared." "Compensation? What are you talking about? I didn't agree to anything like that," she protested. "Well, you're going to hear about it soon enough. It's what you deserve," I concluded as she realized the gravity of the situation. "I'm a housewife. I can't pay any compensation," she pleaded, her voice filled with desperation. "I don't care. Figure it out yourself or ask your husband, though I doubt he'll be much help," I said sharply. "Oh, wait. Goodbye." I hung up before she could respond and promptly blocked her number. Later, I contacted my lawyer to finalize my divorce and sought compensation from my ex-husband and Gloria, along with child support. I also demanded repayment for the unauthorized credit card charges. The financial strain was too much for Gloria's marriage. After settling the compensation, her husband filed for divorce, and she found herself without a home. She sought refuge with her parents, but they were disappointed by her actions and turned her away. With limited options, Gloria now lives where she works, taking up night shifts at a local bar. Thomas, too, sought comfort from Gloria during this turbulent time, but overwhelmed by her crisis and furious with him for causing her divorce, she ended their relationship. Thomas is now juggling several part-time jobs, struggling to make ends meet. His long period of unemployment has hindered his ability to find stable work. Should he ever fall behind on his alimony or child support payments, I am prepared to pursue what he owes without hesitation. As for myself, life has settled into a peaceful rhythm in our new home with my son. He's growing up fast, and each day is filled with new joys and adventures. My primary focus is on providing him with all the love and stability he needs, ensuring he never has to face the kind of turmoil we've gone through again. Our days are brighter now, and I'm committed to making sure they stay that way.